Welcome to the presentation of Education for the Remote Work Methods of the Future in Software Engineering. This article is written by teachers at the Kristianstad University in Sweden. My name is Kamila Klonowska and my colleague is Daniel Einarsson. Daniel, please.
Software engineering as a discipline is motivated by large-scale software development, and as such relies on teams of developers where communication and coordination are essential ingredients to achieve good results. Different working process models have been proposed during the years, where early models recommended strictly ordered ways of working with groups of different specialties such as requirements, design, implementation, and testing. But at the present time, though, the more lightweight agile styles are commonly used because of different kinds of efficiency reasons. And then there are reasons to believe that tomorrow's ways of working will be remote and distributed. That is, the local areas for physical meetings and development will not have the same role as before anymore. Here is this certainly also have effect on the process models and activities. Please, next slide. We have, for this contribution, studied several sources that show that we can see a kind of game changer, more and more in a direction towards a remote and distributed labor market. For instance, at World Economic Forum's Davos agenda in January this year, actually, this was pointed out in parallel with needs for approaches towards virtual education. As pointed out, as we can see here, on the plus side, the pandemic has accelerated trends that have been a long time coming. Digitization of workplaces and the platform economy, the expansion of remote and flexible work and virtual education. So that is the trend or the direction, as I mentioned, was already set. The pandemic just pushed this further. Please, Camilla. Next slide, thank you. So again here on agile methods that have evolved from difficulties in previous heavier process styles with regard to aspects such as quick decisions, discussions in common physical locations, so-called war rooms, and close customer contacts. However, on the negative side, this is based on different functional teams that may turn up into silo orientation modes. DevOps, on the other hand, can here be seen as an extension to Agile with inherent components suitable for distributed and remote work. Such components provide for automated methods for continuous testing, integration, and delivery, and where such integrated environments counteract the us and them modes that arise from the silo-oriented functional teams of Agile styles. Thus, inherent properties of DevOps may be considered as valuable during times of distance work, based on pandemic or not. Moreover, we also have to pay attention to psychosocial aspects, where distributed work generally may come with risks for negative social implications. This clearly has to be under considerations. For instance, this may be based on lack of face-to-face communication and interpersonal connections, differences in time, culture, dialects, custom, regionalization, and so on. The pandemic has further enforced elements of teaching, learning, such as teamwork to go online. Still, education online is, in principle, nothing new in itself. Distance teaching and learning forms have been around for some time now. What we can see, though, is a need for courses to continuously, consciously go online to meet the more upcoming remote and distributed labor markets of tomorrow. Please, next slide, Camilla.
And now coming to the case study, we did a case study with the interviewer for 3 employees at different companies. And we chose the employees by their age and experience in the companies as a software engineering and software developers. We asked the respondents of the situation during the lockdown at the companies, what happened during this time, how they changed the working process during the lockdown. And then, of course, we also ask about the social aspects as well as about the future. And if we discuss the future, so then there is a question, what are the expectations from the university for the companies? The interesting from the interviews came to a situation that all of the respondents talk about the difficulties during the working time remotely at the beginning of the pandemic. However, they adapted very quickly to the situation during the time. The interesting thing was that some of the respondents already worked remotely before, but they also said that even if they work remotely, partly remotely, they needed a face-to-face meeting. And therefore, that was also very challenging to find the best communicating solution during the pandemic, during the online working time, and as well also as meeting technique. From that point, the companies provided different solutions, different tools, but all of the respondents said that these solutions still didn't replace the face-to-face meeting. Another aspect that we looked at was the social aspect. What happened with all discussion during the coffee breaks, coffee rooms? Unfortunately, most of this discussion disappeared. All the respondents said that there were two clear groups for the working during the working time, during the process time. The group that were more efficient, more effective during the working time because of the pandemic, then focus on the subject. And the interesting observation was that the more experienced software engineering, then they had very easy to adapt to the pandemic, to the remote work. However, young developers had very difficult. And therefore we discussed this, that we have to prepare our students as a young developers so they will be adopted very quickly in the companies. Besides that, we also discuss that some of the company offered for the employees the home office equipment as well as a computer or some other good equipment for the good ergonomics. And also when we discuss the psychosocial aspect, some of the companies provided different or various online games or joint coffee breaks. Then the very important for us as teachers question is how to help our students, how to prepare our students for the future work, and that at the same time, how we prepare the future education just to prepare the students for the future work. So we discussed and we found keywords like self-discipline, good structure, curiosity, work ethics, planning, and so on. We could see that the university should prepare students for work in virtual teams where the clear communication and good cooperation and self-discipline with individual work are extremely important. And for this individual work, it's very important, the self-discipline. Besides that, what we could also observe that Even structure documentation and work ethics are very important. Planning and need to divide work into well-structured units, as well as perseverance and ability to contact colleagues in situation of need for help in for need or for the help. And then thank you, Daniel, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. So again, then to our home department, we have the course Software Engineering 2. That is a project-based course, and that will undergo changes to adjust to practice in distance work. That is, that this should be implemented consciously to adjust to the set direction, not only as a consequence of a specific critical situations, such as the pandemic right now. And here, the students will be introduced to the new context, motivated by the studies of this contribution, and especially a set of recommended skills and attitudes as a result of the surveys, appropriate techniques and tools such as proposed by DevOps, and DevOps in itself as a process model and as an extension to the previous Agile styles. And moreover, continuous student close discussions and observations will be ongoing to support their working process, including shedding light on their psychosocial situation, individually as well as in group. Please, Camilla, next slide. So then to the conclusions. Again, then, studies on remote and distributed work generally, and especially in software development companies, have been performed, and where those investigations are based on literature studies as well as surveys at software development organizations. So it was shown that the direction towards distance as a general way of working has actually already been set. The pandemic has only contributed to pushing it further. And then finally, furthermore, the experiences behind this contribution have led to distance-based initiatives in project-based courses to prepare students for tomorrow's distributed and remote labor markets. And this certainly is of interest and importance for the future of education. So thank you very much. And back to Camilla. Unmute, please.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And we would like to thank you for this presentation. And we are welcome to see the Kristianstad University homepage, where you can also find the syllabus of the course Software Engineering.